How do you define beauty?
It's always changing.
We have a tendency to suffer in silence.
At TTOM, we certainly believe in changing the narrative.
Maybe in my next lifetime.
You have to look after yourself. Even when you think you're feeling 100%, make sure you really are.
It's a hard business. It's a hard business.
How do we get ourselves to that first step out the door?
We need to learn to choose ourselves first.
And if you're not, it's okay.
He saw beauty in me when I didn't.
You need to show up, which is keeping the commitment to yourself.
In my 40s, I'm just going to embrace being a single woman.
Like when we're going, through a hard time, just being transparent about it.
How does someone overcome these mental barriers?
But don't underestimate what's possible. Push yourself.
But it also would be lovely to see movies and love stories of middle-aged women.
You're beautiful, and I thank you. Thank you so much, because you're definitely part of the TTOM community. And I'm so thankful for having you.
Thank you for having me to your living room.
Thank you, Beatrice.
I'm very happy that you're doing this. It's so wonderful.
I'm Dr. Beatrice Seguin, PhD, and you've landed on my podcast this time of the month, your trusty sidekick to the midlife roller coaster. I chat with experts digging into legit solutions for midlife hurdles, be it health or lifestyle. Ready for the ride? Dive into this time of the month. Subscribe and catch the latest episodes on our channel. Let's own this midlife magic together.
In episode 7 of This Time of the Month, season 2, we're delving into some eye-opening conversations. Joined by 3 women, we're exploring different perspectives on beauty, self-confidence, and overcoming obstacles. Stephanie shares her insights on beauty standards.
We need to understand that beauty is how we feel inside. And I don't really think I understood that until I was in my 40s.
Helen challenges norms about aging through her lens as a photographer.
Women who are in the position of authority or privilege were more transparent. Yeah, I look like this because I do this and this and this, and I have the money that I can do that.
And Laurie discusses how to tackle self-limiting beliefs head on.
If I go falling off a mountain, then that's when I'm gonna go. I can't not do it.
Get ready for some thought-provoking insights and empowering discussions.
Did you even realize, did it come into your consciousness? Did you say, I think this is happening? What point in your life?
Yes. I remember I was 40. I'm 44. So about 5 years ago, I went through a cystic acne breakout, and I was having night sweats. It started once a month when I was getting my cycle. It was a new symptom, and at night, I would have to change. I would have to change out of my clothes. I would have to change the sheets. And I thought, oh my gosh, after months of this happening, I remember laying in bed and I said to myself, I'm going through puberty again. This is puberty.
Fun.
Right? I want to have food I don't normally want. I have acne again, and I'm hot. And our elder female lady friends always talk about the hot flash. No one will prepare you for the hot flash, by the way. I don't know. I was, hot. Why are you so complaining about being hot? Because I hate being cold. This is different.
It's different.
This is your blood, you're boiling from the inside out, right? And it comes upon you when you're least expecting it.
Stephanie, let me ask you this. Can we own our standard of beauty past our 40s?
I think that we have to own it from the beginning of our lives. And, I think that also we need to understand that beauty is how we feel inside. And I don't really think I understood that until I was in my 40s because of magazines when we were growing up, right? Because of the internet, because of social media, because of how we, present women. It's on a very physical level, right? When you are in your 40s, however, you can look back and you feel beautiful that you made it through a divorce, that you have your black belt in throwing yourself together and feel great when you do. That you are proud of yourself for how you co-parent with your ex-spouse, because that is really, really hard, right? And when you look at your child and you see how amazing he is, and that's also from the efforts that you've put into your family, whether you're married or divorced. So for me, feeling beautiful is this like inner confidence that I have, and I leave the house feeling good about my business, about how I treat people, about my friendships that I have. And a big compliment that I get from people are, you're so lucky you have such good friends. So I feel good, so good inside that when I do my black belt throwing myself together, I feel beautiful. And I can walk around with confidence because you know what? I've been there, done that. I've been through hard times. When you've been through hard times and you come out of it feeling bigger, better, and stronger, that to me is beautiful.
That's beautiful.
I feel that women judge each other a lot, and I feel like we've been judging each other our whole entire lives. I don't know if men judge themselves like women judge themselves. So with that question, I really wish that we wouldn't judge each other about our physical appearance so much.
Or being secretive about the things we do to feel ourselves.
Yeah, I think that's a big one. It's funny to me about, I have, every 2 weeks I have dermaplaning because I have facial hair. Not hair as a beard, but I have this like peach fuzz thing going on that I've had my entire life. So I get that done, and sometimes I'll get microneedling. So my face is very red and blotchy, and I will go out into public like this, right? And I'll have friends say, well, what's the downtime? And it's like, there is no downtime. I go and I meet clients. Sorry, my face is so red. I just had 100 needles taken to it, right? Oh, great, where did you get that done? Wonderful, wonderful, and it starts a conversation. But by hiding it, by not sharing, how are other people supposed to know?
Yeah.
Right? So I think that being able to feel confident in asking a friend, feeling confident not to hide procedures that you're getting done or where you shop. Oh yeah, thank you so much for the compliment on this t-shirt. I only paid $9.99 for it at H&M.
Yes, those are our hallway moments in the office or bathroom moments where we share our little finds.
Right. I think that women, need to share beyond Instagram. And, I think that having good friends or a community contact that you can reach out to so that you can get that advice when maybe, a friend of yours doesn't have the answer.
Or we think it's unattainable because we're seeing it, in sort of big influencer or, like you said, social media outlets, and you don't really necessarily know what to do, how to do it, where to do it.
And that it doesn't always cost a lot of money.
So tell me some of your favorite tips that don't necessarily cost a lot of money and give you that sense of uplift.
Yeah, so for me, if it's a birthday, Christmas, my self-anniversary, I don't know, whatever it is, I always ask people to get me gift certificates because these are really, really, these are things, you don't have to spend money on, but it's money well spent. So for example, I really like to, for my skin, I like to have dermaplaning done, and it's actually not expensive. It's something that you can do at home. Now you can get, they have the blade on the stick that you can get at Shoppers Drug Mart. So I think that's a really, that's an excellent one. Skincare, when you buy really good skincare, it actually lasts. So it comes in bigger packages. It will last you 6 months, whereas I find some of other products that I've used, maybe in a drugstore brand, won't last me that long.
Yeah.
The makeup of it, the ingredients, it lasts a lot longer.
That's a tough one.
That's, everybody's into meditation today, and it's a really big thing. And I sort of, for years I thought, okay, well, meditating. Now I really understand it, because for me, it's really about it's about putting your intentions. It's about sitting with yourself and really figuring out, what you want, where you're going, and how you're going to get there. That to me is really the time that I need during the day, which I have multiple times a day, just to keep my where am I going always here.
Some people get married, get divorced, some people stay single. But what turns you on now in your 40s versus what turned you on in your 30s, your 20s?
In my 20s, I definitely felt the pressure to get married. It was like, if you do not leave your 20s married, there's a problem with you. You got something wrong with you. So, that in mind sort of alters the way you look at men when you're dating, right? It's very different. In my 30s, I was married and I got a divorce. In my 40s, I am embracing being a single woman. And I was speaking to a friend the other day, and she said she called it, instead of being a single woman, she called it being alone. And I thought, being alone? I have never felt so unalone in my entire life, to be quite honest. So, in my 40s, I'm just going to embrace being a single woman. That could mean that I'm dating. That could mean that I have a partner. That could mean multiple things. But right now, the phase that I am in, and I see that until I'm 50, that is my plan, to just continue being, a single woman with a busy schedule, amazing friends, and going on dates.
What do you say to people who tell you to dress your age? What does that even mean, and what would you say?
I can't believe that people are still saying that, for one thing, really, because what you put on your physical body has to make you feel good, right? There is a connection. When you put on an item of clothes, there is a connection between clothing and your body. And when you combine those two things, there's a reaction. You either feel really good, or you don't feel great at all, or it's questionable. And one day you could put on one outfit and you feel amazing in it, and the next day you could put the same outfit on and you don't. So I think for someone to make that comment, dress for your age or dress for this, I think that in order to feel good about yourself and conquer the day, you just have to feel good about what you put on. You do need to know your audience. I do not wear lingerie to show my clients real estate. I do not show up at a school meeting with, Daisy Duke shorts and a bra top. So you do have to dress for your audience, but at the same time, put something together that makes you feel good. And there are days where I feel like I'm 16, so maybe I'm gonna put on what somebody would consider a 16-year-old outfit. But what I see today is young girls are actually dressing a lot more mature. So I really think that the dress for your age has left us. I think dress for your audience, dress to feel good, and there are times where you have to be very appropriate in your dress.
Do you think there's a lot of suffering in silence as well? This mentality that you're tough, I'm just gonna suffer in silence.
Yeah, I think that, I think that's what we do. I think we have a tendency to suffer in silence. Because we are busy looking after everybody else. And I can't put myself first today because there's 10 other things that have to be done to benefit somebody else, whether it's somebody at your job, whether it's a friend, whether it's your family. We have gotten into a bad habit of suffering in silence, not recognizing what our needs are and addressing them first. And it is okay to stand and look at your family and say, just so you know, everybody here, dog included, cat, guinea pig over there in the corner, I'm first today.
Yeah.
It's great to be the matriarch of your family, which I have a tendency to think of myself in that way. You have to look after yourself. Even when you think you're feeling 100%, make sure you really are. And if you're not, it's okay. And what makes me feel beautiful on the outside is always the same. It's when I'm on a regular workout program. It's when I'm on a regular, I feel that physically it helps to put on something that isn't your pajamas or your stretchy pants.
I think that you're beautiful, and I thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me to your living room. I look forward to coming again.
You can come anytime. Today we're going to talk about how we change the narrative about beauty and aging, and I'm so pleased to tell you that I have Helen Tansey with me. She is a professional photographer, and I should say we've known each other for probably 14, 15 years because you take pictures of our family.
Yep.
And your energy has always been inspiring.
Thank you.
One of the things I love about you as a photographer is you really do see people. You see the essence of the person.
Right.
Tell us how you do that. What's your magic?
I don't know how I do it. I think it's just who I am, do you know? I think that I've been doing this a long time. I mean, I've been shooting for 30 years, so I find that when I work with people, I just sort of connect to them, and I take my time and I connect and I listen. And yeah, I think you said when we were talking about doing this, it's like we all sometimes have our superpowers, and you had said that maybe that was mine, and that left an impression on me. I thought, well, maybe that's mine. I don't know.
It's definitely one of your superpowers.
Yeah.
I think it's not everyone who takes the time to peer into someone's unique essence and then bring it out.
Yeah.
So, and in such a visual industry, I'm curious, how do you define beauty?
I mean, that's a good question, and it's changing. It's always changing. I mean, for me, though, beauty is, because I've been in this industry for so long. Before this, I modeled, and so I've always been, I meet and I'm surrounded by a lot of attractive people. But if you don't have anything to back that up, it's, you're just attractive. That's it. So for me, it is that connection to the soul. It's listening to people. It's hearing what they're saying. It's their values. Like, those are the things that I personally find are the most beautiful things about people. Throughout history, women are punished. And then even if you look at women, like, their value and their worth was that being young and beautiful. Because if you got the man, you were fertile. And if you didn't have youth and beauty on your side, then you weren't of value. And even if you think, like, it was only 60 years ago where women got the right to have their own bank account, to write their own checks. So there's a lot of healing, I think, that women are going through, that we can sort of break down these limited thought beliefs so that we have the power to age how we want to.
Let's talk about the book you did, the project. What was that about?
So Sundari women, in Sanskrit, Sundari means beautiful. And the book, I photographed over, I think it was 40 women that I photographed. And what I did is I had photos of them, black and white, very sort of raw photos. And then they shared their wisdom on aging. So it could be their tips. Most of it was their wisdom. It's how they felt about being a woman. We need to see, again, positive views and positive, I think, because I'm visual, I'm an artist, images of women as they age. So it's not something that we dread or fear.
In my mind, I know it to be true. But then when I look at myself in the mirror, and I would venture to guess other women, you struggle to see the beauty. So how do you work? Do you have that struggle
But what is the struggle? That's what I would ask you. Like, what is it when you look at yourself? What is it that the struggle is?
Sometimes I ask myself, am I doing things because of internalized, like so deeply internalized misogyny? Like, so do I really like wearing lipstick, or am I wearing lipstick because I'm supposed to, or that's part of the struggle?
Yeah. And even if you dismantle that, like, I hear a lot of women say that they feel they become invisible. And I'm like, so what is visible? Like, so when you're 20 or you're 30, you walk into a room, that makes you visible?
Yeah.
No.
An external person.
Yeah. So visible, like, I feel more visible than I ever had in my life. I think it's, again, like going in and sort of looking at what it is that's really upsetting you. So for me, like the same thing, like when I start to sort of go like, oh, this in the mirror, or I'm uncomfortable with my looks, I sort of pause and go, okay, what's really going on here? So sometimes it's that I'm stressed out, my boys are, driving me crazy, or, work is difficult, whatever it is. And the low-hanging fruit is what we look like.
Yes.
That's the stuff that we sort of pick apart first. But if you can take that time to go, okay, what is really out of balance here for me? And just breathe into it and figure it out and stop being so hard on ourselves.
I mean, for sure, the confidence level, most people would say it's best time of life.
Yes.
Like, when you finally know who you are. What about taking the opposite view? If we think of, recently Martha Stewart was on the cover of, I don't remember what magazine, but she made the cover and it was so divisive. The comments I saw.
Yeah.
Some people celebrated it. Some people criticized it, and I didn't quite know how to process the feelings I was experiencing. Did you see it? What are your thoughts on it?
I did see it. I mean, I thought she looked amazing,
Yeah.
whether or not she's done cosmetic stuff or not. Think about when we're pregnant and we give birth. People are like, well, did you do a natural childbirth or did you, do an epidural? Did you breastfeed? Did you not breastfeed?
You're judged.
You're judged. And I think we have to stop judging women. And if you want to go and do Botox or a cosmetic surgery, go for it. If you don't want to, that's amazing. Doesn't make you better than the other person who does it, or it doesn't make you better than the other person who doesn't do it. So there has to be, I believe, like, let's stop being so hard and judging each other. Like, let's show love and compassion.
Yeah, I think the less judging is,
Yeah.
that would be nice to see
Yeah.
in the world. Who are the people who've, sort of inspired you on this journey of beauty, aging?
Yeah.
Are there people that stick
I
in
mean,
your
Jane
mind?
Fonda for
Yeah.
sure. I've always loved her. I think she's incredible. One of my favorite models was Lauren Hutton. I think she's a powerhouse of a woman. And then there's there's Jane Goodall, who I just
Yes.
think is an unbelievable human being, So I think that kindness inspires me, and people that stand in their truth really inspire me.
That's beautiful. Do you think that the focus still on what we look like versus what we say is also part of the issue? So, like, again, we're a very visual world.
Yes.
And the appearance of a woman tends to overshadow what she says. I mean, what would you say to society about that? How do we change that?
Small shifts.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen overnight. But there's also nothing wrong with celebrating beauty. You're a beautiful woman. You shouldn't feel bad about that or hide that. Or if we want to take care of ourselves and do our hair and makeup, like, there's nothing wrong with that, right? But that's just a part of us. It's not all of us. I think that there is change happening, and it's small shifts, and hopefully we can lean into that more, And the cosmetic industry also, like, if we're satisfied with what we look like, we're not going to buy stuff. So part of it is that we're not supposed to be satisfied as women, because if we do, we're not going to buy the beauty products. We're not going to get the cosmetic procedures. We're not going to buy the gym memberships and the Pelotons and all those sorts of things. So part of it, when you look at it, if you step back, you realize it's also a marketing thing to make us feel inadequate.
Helen, how did you stay grounded in an industry that is infamous for not being grounded?
Yeah.
I was really fortunate to have an incredible brother, and he believed in me more than anything in the world, even when I didn't believe in myself, and he saw beauty in me when I didn't. And so being in an industry where you would go out for go-sees, and it's a hard business, it's a hard business. And I remember being in Paris, and I would come back to my room and I would call him in tears, and he would just tell me that he loved me and it was okay. And just knowing how much he loved me kept me grounded. And there's something so powerful, and I hope that I give this to people that I love. When somebody believes in you and loves you, that's your anchor, So he was my anchor.
What would you tell our 20-year-olds and our 30-year-olds What would you tell Helen? The
Yeah.
younger Helen, the younger Beatrice.
You know, it's funny, I just heard another interview with Carol Burnett.
Yes.
And she was asked that question, and her answer was, I wouldn't say anything because I wouldn't want to change anything because I love where I am right now. So I loved that. I thought that was really beautiful. I think messages I would give myself would just that I am enough. I think that's a big thing for women, that we never feel that we're enough.
Tell me more about that.
I think just growing up, like being in a modeling industry, you were never pretty enough, right? Then there was, for me growing up, I had dyslexia, and by the time they found out, I was put into high school and I was told by a guidance counselor, like, well, you'll never go to university or college because you're not smart enough. So for me, that's a real big thing. My Achilles heel is not being people looking at me and not thinking I'm smart. So, you know, we all have those, have experienced those microaggressions in our lives. So just, again, looking at that and then taking that space and kind of going like, no, you are enough. You got this. And it's slowing it all down and taking that time to go, okay, what is coming up for me, and where's the, what is it triggering? Because even though we heal, it doesn't mean you heal it and it's done, right? It could be like you see something on TV or somebody says something and it triggers that wound again. So we got to go back. But the great thing is the more we keep doing it, what maybe took weeks or days takes minutes or moments to do. But it's that awareness.
And do you find that in this time of life, it's a bit of an inflection point, perimenopause, menopause, midlife, and some of those old beliefs, they in some ways get exacerbated? So you're talking about how we can deal with it more easily, but do you find some of that in this period gets revisited?
I don't.
No?
I don't. But I think also too, I lost my brother when he was 21. So for me, he didn't get to live out his dreams. He didn't get to live out his life. So for me, aging is that I am so grateful and blessed and thankful that I get to do that, And there are people that don't get that. So I shift, and if that does happen, I try to do something, like when we get in that, I try to be of service, right? I shift it, I shift the energy so that I am not sort of going down that rabbit hole, which is unhealthy for me and for most women. So I find when we start obsessing about our appearances or how hard it is getting older, go do something. Be of service, right? Go volunteer, help your kids, do something else to get out of your own head where it's about you, because it's not, right, in the grand scheme of things.
If there were 3 things that you want women in midlife, and as they're aging, midlife is just a point, but as we get older, what are the 3 things you want them to take from you?
So when you look back at photos of yourself now, you're kind of like, what was I so worried about or complaining about? Wherever you are right now, I think the same thing. You're going to look back in 10 years and be like, why was I so worried or, wasted so much energy on that? So I think don't be so hard on yourself, You have a voice, use it. If you're not happy with something, like when I think of like how women, we need to sort of speak up more and speak up more for each other. And I think that's really important. And never say never. Because there are things in my life that I've said I would never do, and I've done them all. And I find sometimes the things that give me that visceral reaction of like, I would never do that. It's like, there's a reason that I have that reaction. So never say never, because
I said I'd never podcast.
And here you are.
And here we are.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. What are yours?
You're not alone.
Yeah.
I see you.
Yeah.
And you're enough.
Yeah.
Those are 3 things.
Yeah.
Always.
Because those are the things that we like hold that space and that gentle, like, me too. It's like, we're not alone. We're all going through this.
We are.
Right? And having that compassion for each other is so important.
Yeah, and the being enough is, I think it's so hard. Despite all the amazing progress and the empowerment that we feel from so many amazing thought leaders around us.
Yeah.
Yet in our daily life, the microaggressions are real.
Yeah.
The voices
Yeah.
from your past are real.
Yeah.
And so learning to not give credence to that voice.
I wish for more transparency. So when you have someone, I'm just like, let's say like Jennifer Lopez, where people look at her and go, oh my God, look at how amazing she looks for being in her 50s. It's like, I wish she was more transparent of going like, well, yeah, I have privilege.
Yeah.
Right? I have personal trainers, I have chefs, I have this, I have that. Like, saunas, you have laser things that you're like, I wish that women who are in the position of authority or privilege were more transparent of going like, yeah, I look like this because I do this and this for my skin, and because I do this and this and this, and I have the money that I can do that.
Yeah, I think it would
because
help.
we do look at it, we do compare ourselves to it, right?
And then you feel like a
and
failure.
then you feel a failure,
Yeah.
So I wish that women, and in everything, like when we're going, through a hard time, just being like, transparent about it.
Why do you think though there's not as much transparency? Is it the fear of reprisal? Like, so if J-Lo or whomever, Gwyneth Paltrow, we can name many, were to start telling us the truth about their full routine,
Because
I
there's
would love
shame.
it, but
There's shame still.
Yeah.
Right?
They'd be shamed. Oh, well, that's why.
Yeah. Yeah. But and also it would be lovely to see, movies and love stories of middle-aged women, right? And also women in their 60s, 70s, and 80s, and not
Having sex and enjoying it?
having sex and enjoying it, right? Or, and that it not about aging, right? Or not about like, oh, my life is horrible, and, like having uplifting, fabulous scripts for women that, are aging.
Yeah, they're not the dowdy mother-in-law.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
And then all of a sudden do this transformation.
Yes.
And
Well, Helen, you know that I'm going to ask you this question. What makes you feel most beautiful? And feel is the word.
Feel.
The key word.
I love laughing. So when I'm with my family and we're killing ourselves laughing, I think laughter is just so freeing,
Yes.
My practice, like I get up every morning at 5:30 and I walk my dog and I come back and I do my meditation practice. And that's a non-negotiable for me. That's where I come in, and I release and I examine. And it's when I feel that period of time is where I feel the most complete and whole. And being, honestly, my family. I love my family so much. I'm so blessed to have such an incredible husband and kids. When I am with them, like they fill my heart with so much joy,
That's a good one.
Yeah.
It's hard to pick one thing.
Yeah.
I would say when I'm around other
Yeah.
women, I feel not just beautiful, I feel
Seen,
powerful
heard.
and seen and
We're church for each
heard and-
other.
Yes.
Yeah. It's unbelievable how we lift each other up, right?
And let's keep doing that. That's why we're here on
Yeah.
TTOM Couch, and I'm so thankful for having you.
Aw, thank you. I'm glad to be here. I'm very happy that you're doing this. It's so wonderful. And you're so good at it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Was that part of what inspired you about there's more in me movement?
It became my mantra. I've got more in me. I know I've got more in me. I mean, the idea of me running a marathon, I still remember being on that airplane and I'm looking at the cover of Runner's World and all these people on the bridge in New York City, and I thought, I couldn't imagine, it was beyond what I could fathom. And I said to myself, that would be so interesting, maybe in my next lifetime. I didn't even know how to process it. It's a mindset, we can have a closed, fixed mindset, like this is all I can do, or we can have a growth mindset, and that is who I have become. I don't know that I always was that person, but wow, what's possible? What's next? And I just keep trying. My attitude towards what I do has had to shift because with age, just what I can do as far as speed or whatever is a little different.
So what's a small shift? How does someone overcome these mental barriers and self-limiting beliefs? Give us just examples of little shifts we can make towards a goal.
It's making choices for ourselves. So one example is I try to walk around the block every night after dinner. That's a commitment I've made for myself, because if I go for a little walk, digest my food, I'll sleep better. I'm kind of bringing, and it gives me time to reflect a little bit. And so I'm kind of bringing those 3 practices into one little activity, because what does it take? 5 minutes to walk around the block? But that's enough. It's not, you have to walk 10 minutes or half an hour up and down a hill. It's just go around the block. Sometimes it turns into 2, sometimes it turns into, so it's just, what are the little things? I think the way to make these happen, I did a little research on this, some surveys and stuff, is you need to sign up for something, because if you sign up, then you'll show up. You need to show up, which is keeping the commitment to yourself, and then having community. The only reason I ever got involved in triathlon was because I happened to meet somebody from the triathlon club down at the waterfront one day and got talking. Oh, that sounds interesting. I can swim, I can run, I can figure out how to bike. It doesn't have to be big stuff. It doesn't have to be triathlon. It doesn't have to be running. It doesn't have to be marathons. It doesn't have to be any of that.
With friends, with community, with like-minded people, whatever. Yeah, that's really the power of a network and a community. Do you think that society has misconceptions, or that we've internalized some beliefs about being able to change later in life?
As we get older, women especially, there are so many messages about we're feeble and we have to be careful and we can't do this, and oh, I'm too old. All these thoughts that sometimes we are our own worst enemy, but totally in the, out in society. I heard a conversation on the radio a while ago, and I don't remember the woman's name, but she said, aging is living. Why are we afraid to live?
That's a great
Think
statement.
about that. We're afraid, it's living. And then another one in that same conversation was, I'm not getting old. I'm growing older. I'm growing older.
So what would you say to your younger self, or to anyone who's 40, 50, 60, 70, it does not matter what age we're at. What would you tell that person about trying something new?
Just
things that aren't traditional, like a trail race or anything new.
But anything, just go try something. Even like go for a walk, find someone to go for a walk on a trail in a park. I mean, most places have nice, you can go on a flat, easy trail. It doesn't have to be something, tough and difficult, but don't underestimate what's possible. Like, push yourself.
Do you think that transformation is achievable for everyone? In other words, let's talk about, there's the sandwich generation, which, for taking care of dependents, taking care of older parents, it might feel daunting to try something new. How do we carve that time out? How do we help ourselves to move our
shift our mood, move our body,
Yes.
expand our minds? That's a really good point, because there is an inequity, and I have a lot of privilege in that I have the time and ability to go and do all these things. Even however, I did spend 6 months at my mother's bedside pretty much when she had cancer, and I made sure I got out, because if I didn't, I wasn't going to be able to take care of her. So I think it's a mindset shift to say, even when we don't have time, even when we don't especially when we don't have energy, it's not about finding time, it's about preserving. It's precious. It's our health and well-being, body, mind, and spirit, to make this time. Like, keep it as precious as if it was feeding your puppy or your child or anybody.
Or a Zoom meeting. Schedule it in.
Exactly.
Is there anything that you'd want the audience to leave with, from you? If there's like one thing that you want them to take away?
What comes to mind is a quote. There's this woman, Mavis Lerner, 83 apparently, and she said something like, the purpose in life is not to, hit the grave in a well-preserved body. She says, instead, you want to go sliding in sideways, yelling, holy shit, what a ride!
I love it. That is I think I'm gonna take that one home with me for sure.
But it's really that, and I have no idea if she's real, but you see these somewhere along the way. I found that a long time ago, but it's really that, like,
Lose the fear.
yeah, and with some of this mountain stuff I'm doing now, people will say, whoa, you better be careful. And it's like, well, if I go falling off a mountain, then that's when I'm gonna go. I can't not do it. And again, I wanna keep emphasizing, it's not about doing crazy, tough triathlons, mountain races, any of that. It's just go and do whatever it is that makes you a little afraid, but really excited, that you would just love to try. What is it you'd love to try? Maybe it's playing an instrument, painting, anything. Just let go of the fear. We can, the discomfort of uncertainty. That's how we learn. We have to be willing to be uncomfortable.
How do we get ourselves to that first step out the door?
For women, we need to learn to choose ourselves first, not last. And choosing ourselves first is not selfish. That is how we are going to be at our best. And when we are at our best, then we can be at our best to serve others too. We're going to have more patience, more energy, more interest, more initiative. And notice when you're thinking about that, is there a fear underneath there? Is there something you're afraid of if you choosing yourself?
At TTOM, we certainly believe in changing the narrative about ourselves and about our aging, our beauty, and our power. So,
and I'm not discounting that we have very full lives, lots going on.
Sometimes I think we take it on. We enable, so to speak, like, oh, they all need me, so they can't survive 10 minutes, or I have to make the lunches. But really, in my case, I have 2 teenagers, so they're certainly capable of making lunch for themselves before school. So it's just a matter of explaining also to your family and to the people around you that you matter, and this is actually going to help all of us. So that, I think I'm taking mental note of that, because I'm a culprit. We find all sorts of reasons to not do something sometimes. Yeah, that's really good.
And we surprise ourselves in that not choosing, right?
Right. So on that, I'm going to ask you, Laurie, what makes you feel beautiful?
The top of a mountain, on the mountain peak, that image, and you see these runners, and it's like they're floating along the top of the mountain peak, but it's grace, and it's strength, and it's like this just gliding, flowing. Like with you embrace all of yourself with what you're doing with these podcasts, physically, mentally, emotionally, you're just there, and you are just so embodied in yourself and comfortable. But that's it. It's just do it. Just be.
Just try it.
Yeah. And whatever that is for anyone, we're all unique and different. And the reason I keep repeating that too is because people think you're an athlete or you do all this big stuff, but it's not about that. It's the little daily practices.
Well, you were certainly one of the people that told me, have the courage, just try it. You've never done this before, so what? So thank you so much, because you're definitely part of the TTOM community.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Beatrice.
We know alcohol is associated with increased risk of several health conditions, but we also know, like Dr. Annie Duke has told us, health is a spectrum. As much as I'd like to have 0 alcohol for the rest of my life, sometimes I just want to indulge. So on the times I do give myself a treat, I've discovered Basque 0 sugar wine, which is basically a very low sugar wine. It's because in the fermentation process, most of the sugar is used. This one is a Sauvignon Blanc. It's nice and dry. And so when I feel like a little indulgence, I make sure to enjoy every little sip. I'm gonna have a nice little sip because God knows I need it. Is it bad if I take a sip now? It's 10 a.m.